So due to long-term funding reductions, TBC initially had to reduce the amount of food assistance we could provide to the majority of refugees starting on the 1st of April. Then starting on the 1st of August, we are no longer financially in a position to provide food assistance to, again, the majority of refugees. We are, due to reallocating of current existing donors, we are able to provide food assistance to most vulnerable and vulnerable refugee communities in all 9 camps. But again, that's less than 20% of the 107,000 refugees. So as we stand now on the 5th of September, standard households, what we consider standard households, over 80% of refugees have not received food assistance since July. It's extremely challenging. We're seeing refugee households having to make very difficult decisions around prioritizing food or healthcare or education. Some refugees are making the decision to leave camp in search of work, but under current law, they're considered illegal immigrants once they leave the refugee camp. So therefore, we're seeing an increase in arrests. Our partners inside camp are reporting an increase in sexual gender-based violence. There's been an increase in alcohol abuse. There's been an increase in negative coping strategies. Some families are reporting hunger. There's an increase in debt. So it's really having quite a significant impact in the camp. However, the efforts of the Karen Refugee Committee, Karenni Refugee Committee, Karen Women's Organization, Karenni Women's Organization, all of our local partners, all our CBOs in camp are working incredibly hard to maintain safety in the camp, to maintain a sense of community. We are also working closely around livelihoods. So TBC have been trying to increase the number of in-camp livelihood opportunities. We've been getting some new funding around agriculture, both within community gardens and also home agriculture, using vertical gardens, growing crops, finding new ways for refugees to sustain themselves in camp. But this takes time. And for refugees who haven't received food for a couple of weeks now, they don't have that time. So it's a really challenging position, which is why the announcement on the 26th of August from the Rural Thai government that they've approved the idea of letting refugees work outside of camp is historically important, and it will be crucial in allowing refugees to become self-reliant and to meet their own needs. I think, first of all, the announcement of refugee work opportunities is really historic. I mean, for 41 years, refugees along the Thai-Myanmar border have not been allowed to work. For 50 years, refugees in Thailand, starting with refugees on the Lao and Cambodian border, weren't allowed to work. So after 50 years of refugees in Thailand, this is the first time that refugees are allowed to work. This is historic, and we have to acknowledge and thank the Rural Thai government for making this decision. This will have a huge impact on refugees. We know now that refugees can no longer rely on what is becoming an increasingly uncertain global humanitarian system. So there has to be moves to self-reliance, and we really congratulate the Rural Thai government for making that decision. Where we stand now is a bit of uncertainty around the next steps. So as of on the 5th of September, we are still not 100% sure now of what the final policy will be. Currently, the Rural Thai government are developing that policy. We're expecting it to be implemented by the 1st of October. The information that we do have, and that has been reported, is that 77,000 refugees, of those 77,000 refugees in the 9 camps, around 42,000 who are of working age will be allowed to leave the camps to work and be given work permits. The full process, as I said, is being developed by the Rural Thai government, so we don't know what it is at the moment. However, we believe the situation that refugees will be able to receive renewable 1-year work permits after they've undergone healthcare, after they've undergone health checks, they've done social security registration, and a full work permit application. Believe that families can either remain in camp or leave camp. There's a bit of, at the moment, there is the potential for refugees to move to Sisaket and other provinces along the Cambodian border. Depending, the media are reporting that potentially up to 100 or even 200,000 Cambodian migrant workers have returned to Cambodia since the conflict started. So therefore, there is a real need for labour on the Cambodian provinces. So there's a real need for migrant labour on provinces bordering Cambodia, but also amongst the Thai-Myanmar border, there's a big need for labour. So we could also potentially see a lot of refugees working closer to camp. That would also be very beneficial. Around camps like Mela, Umpi and Nupol, there's a lot of work nearby. A lot of it agricultural, but also in Mesop, there's a lot of work in factories, hospitality and stuff. And that would also mean potentially the family could remain home in the camp, where they have a support structure, community support, where they have access to healthcare, access to education. However, there is challenges for other camps. For example, camps like Tam Hin down in Ratchaburi, Badonyang to a smaller extent in northern Kanchanaburi, and also Mela Una Mera Malawang in southern Mae Hon Son. There's not a lot of work nearby. That means refugees may have to travel several hours to find work. So there's a lot of things that, as we stand right now, we don't have the information on the full policy. But for TBC, look, we're committed to working with the Raw Thai government into ensuring that this policy is fair, is equitable, and that the rights of refugees are respected. It's going to be incredibly important. TBC, we're very happy with this announcement. But it's not just TBC. Karen Refugee Committee, the Karenni Refugee Committee, the IEC, KMPP have all put statements out congratulating this move. So this is a vital move for self-reliance. But more work has to be done to ensure that this is done fairly in a way that ensures refugees are protected, that they're safe. And the other thing to mention is that refugees, they're not uniform. Many different refugees have many different skills. Therefore, we have to make sure that refugees are able to work in fields and find employment that suits their needs, their skills. Some refugees will do very well in agriculture. Others will do better in hospitality. Many refugees speak fluent Thai. Many speak fluent English, fluent Karen, fluent Burmese. So there's a lot of other work out there that hopefully refugees can find access to. So that is one important thing. Ultimately, this will be up to the Raw Thai government to decide. But the one thing that TBC is very strong on is that allowing refugees the right to work should not take away refugees' refugee status or their eligibility for potential third country resettlement, be that in America, Australia, Japan, South Korea, wherever that may be. Allowing refugees to work should not take away someone's refugee status. And I think the other really important thing to mention is that this policy initially is for 77,000 refugees. According to TBC's records, there are 107,000 refugees. So there is, again, a question remaining around refugees who are not currently registered with the Thai Ministry of Immigration. So that are not currently registered with the Thai Ministry of Interior. So that is one question. And the other point is that this will not apply to refugees who are not registered with the Thai Ministry of Interior. This will also not apply to refugees outside of camp. And then the final point is that not all refugees are able to work. TBC are currently providing food to the most vulnerable and vulnerable communities in camp. This food provision will have to continue after this refugee right to work policy is implemented. There are refugees who have disabilities, who are elderly, who are maybe physically or mentally incapable of work. They have to be, TBC has to continue to provide them with food assistance. So this is a really important move forward. This is a fantastic move forward for refugees, but this is one step of what has to be many steps to find a whole of community solutions to refugees.